what we're going to do now is go ahead and begin installing our cold air intake. We're going to start by removing this 10mm bolt here on the radiator support. Okay. Now that we have that bolt out, what we're going to do is move your strut rod to the opposite side of your prop rod. And now we're going to take the splash shield. We're going to physically turn it all the way upside down. Now we're going to go ahead and insert the bar into the back side of the splash shield and begin fishing it through. Once all the way through, you can then flip your cold air intake splash box or splash shield back over and make sure that the tab at the front is lining up with the bolt hole from the 10mm that you just removed. Now that we have everything lined up on our bolt holes, what we're going to do now is go ahead and put the bolt back into place. Now that we have our splash shield installed, we're going to go ahead and do now is install our air filter. It's a conical air filter, high flow. Already have our hose clamp installed. All we're going to want to do now is make sure we have it spun to the right side and simply tighten it down. You don't really want to over snug it because you can end up tearing the rubber boot that connects the filter to the shroud itself. Testing can be done just by trying to make it spin. You don't have to try to torque on it, just a little tug. It's not moving. Okay. Now our next step is to go ahead and install the actual ducting itself. I've already pre-installed all the rubber boots on both ends of the ducting. Make sure you have all of your hose clamps already on there also. Going to begin by connecting it to the back of the splash shield and just setting it gently on top of the throttle body. Our next step is to remove this old stock PCV hose with the new one. We'll start by just simply pulling it off of the old PCV valve itself. Be gentle with it. You don't want to break the PCV off. Now that that's removed, we're going to go ahead and replace it with a newer one. Now I've installed a hose clamp here to help keep it onto the PCV during vibration, things of that sort. So all you have to do here is simply press it on to the old PCV valve and push it on to the ducting. Now that's installed. You want to go ahead and use a smaller, thin flathead screwdriver and spin it to an adjustable angle where you can get to it easily for tightening. Alright, our next step is to go ahead and position the air ducting onto the throttle body. Now I've left both of these hose clamps here loose for adjustment purposes at both the splash shield end and the throttle body end. We'll tighten those up at the end as our final measure. The next thing I'm going to end up doing is going on ahead and putting back your intake air temperature sensor. This is simply done by using the grommet that's installed and pushing it up into the intake ducting itself. It takes a little bit of finesse there, but once that's in, we're going to go ahead and connect our wiring harness to the sensor. Now that that part's done, we're going to go ahead and begin snugging down our hose clamps on the throttle body. The top one is already snug, so I'm going to go ahead and do the bottom one now. Now keep in mind, you don't want to overdo it. Overdoing it can cause this rubber to split, and if it does, the intake basically does no good. You have a major air leak. That's good enough on that one. Now I'm going to move over here to the splash shield side. And I'm going to go ahead and secure this one down. What I want to do is make sure that I have the rubber boot firmly against the wall of the splash shield. So that this way I don't have any room for it possibly falling off. Now I'm going to go ahead and adjust this one around to a comfortable angle and lock it down. And again, I don't want to go too tight because I really don't want to split these rubber boots off. Now I'm just going to give it a vibration check, tug on it, make sure everything's firmly in place, make sure all my hoses are on. And one last check on this one. And one last check on this bolt. And you have just installed the cold air intake system.